Welcome to another episode of Nerd Sounds. I'm Randy.
I'm Melanie.
And I'm Jesse.
And tonight, Godzilla fights Kong. Falcon and the Winter Soldier fight racism, kinda. And because of the Snyder Cut, nobody gets to fight the new gods. But first, what's going on, everybody? How you guys doing?
I'm all right. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. Hi, Paul. Hi, Savannah. I see your comments.
Yes.
Yeah. What's happening? We've got a lot of. So here's what's on the schedule tonight.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of things. We've got several things we watched, all notable. I think, and a few headlines.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to blah, 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 react at the nerd sounds. Make some nerd sounds at that news.
Yeah.
That's right. Thanks, Manicorn.
Solid.
What's going on in the chat, everybody? How you two doing? You guys watch anything interesting? I will say I'm excited. I'm gonna hold it back. So our main attraction, I think, will be Godzilla versus Kong. I'm the only one of the three of us that have watched that so far. So I have some spoiler-free things I can say about that. Mm-hmm. And then we've all watched Falcon and the Winter Soldier episodes 1 and 2. When does that release? Is there an episode 3 like now or probably tomorrow?
Friday morning? It'll be midnight tonight. So cool. Friday.
So this will be woefully out of date by the time it hits the podcast feed.
Yep. Everybody will be reacting at, the next thing.
And just a reminder.
What?
Oh, no, I know. I see Savannah's post. We're good. Yeah, I'm excited to address it. Savannah watched Godzilla vs. Kong, but didn't even know the 3 previous movies that led up to it existed. That's okay. It is argued that a good movie, regardless how many sequels it is into a franchise, should be able to stand on its own. And I think Savannah's confusion... Savannah says, I watched it, but shut up, Paul. I think Savannah's confusion is a good example of, that's not necessarily the case here.
Yeah.
Or, that's not the case in this movie, so does that make it a bad movie?
Yeah.
But also, the Avengers, none of the Avengers movies. Maybe the first one you can get away with not having watched any of the lead up.
Well, if you can't watch the first movie in a series without it, or in a trilogy, without knowing what's going on, then the whole trilogy is going to suck.
Right.
It's going to suck.
I am getting a little bit of echo off of somebody, a little bit of feedback.
All right, I'll turn it down.
What's the name of what's the hearing aids? Start calling just
bell tones or something.
Hey, bell tone. Turn your headphones down. Turn your bell tone up. Headphones down, bell tones up. That's the way I like to podcast. All right, you guys do where I was going.
Yeah.
Paul says hashtag continue the monsterverse.
Oh boy.
That's one thing. Okay, so, this is not a spoiler thing, but, where do they go? Anywhere? Is it done? Because Godzilla versus Kong, it's kind of your headline thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
They were building this kaiju cinematic universe. Once you hit... This isn't Batman v Superman. Once you hit, Godzilla versus Kong, it's kind of what else is there?
There's this.
There's what?
Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. There's Suicide Squad.
Oh, okay. Were you indicating?
You were pointing.
Yes, I was. I was looking at Suicide Squad when I said it, and no one else saw that, so nobody knew what I was talking about. But yes.
The rest of the world gets to enjoy what I experience on occasion.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I do.
Melanie forgetting that we don't all live inside of her head.
I do forget. Yeah, it's It's fun in here. You should come on. Give it a try.
Hey, Andrew, what's going on? Andrew says Avengers Endgame is one of the best movies ever made if you've watched all 20-plus movies before it. Endgame or Infinity War, those movies, if you somehow had never watched any of the other Marvel movies, and those people do exist, those would be indecipherable. Like, it would just be, well, it's okay, so it's kind of some nonsense anyway, but it would just be complete nonsense.
Yeah, but I almost kind of resent a movie for making me have to watch another movie like Winter Soldier. I don't care for Captain America. I never did. And I didn't want to watch any freaking Captain America movies, but I had to for some reason. It's not fair.
Civil War, I know it's a Captain... Actually, Winter Soldier was a decent movie, too.
Yeah.
I feel like after the first Captain America movies, whatever, it's very much, early Marvel movies. Not early Marvel movies. We're not talking like any of the Punisher movies or anything. But
Shots fired.
I feel like Winter Soldier at least was kind of a decent action movie. But Civil War was basically, in my opinion, that Civil War is what should Avengers 2 should have been.
Right.
All right. Savannah says, I don't ever want to be inside Melanie's head. Okay, Andrew. Andrew has a good point. King Kong vs. Godzilla was the third movie in the original Toho series. They made dozens of movies after it. Yeah, but a movie studio isn't going to try to sell American audiences on a Mothra solo movie or Monster Zero on its own or something like that. They had the benefit of they just do whatever. I guess you could just continue bringing out other monsters, just be like Godzilla versus this thing. But this is jumping our conversation a bit, but I hadn't watched Godzilla King of Monsters till a few days ago, since Godzilla vs. Kong was coming out. And one thing that surprised me, I was like, oh, they're just gonna throw them all in there, huh? Like they're just all these monsters. Okay. They burned through a big chunk of their roster pretty quick, and some of those monsters anyway, I think it'd be hard to build a whole movie off just Rodan or something.
Well, I think if it's done well, you could make a movie off of anything.
But I'm pretty sure a lot of those monsters actually did get their own movies back in the day.
Yeah, no, they did.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of them would get their own movies without Godzilla,
Right.
I just don't see that being the case because...
Oh, over here, yeah.
Over here, if you got Godzilla or King Kong in the title, that's all the movie studio is really concerned about. Mm-hmm. Time to bring in
Yes,
Ultraman.
Bring in Ultraman. Let's do it.
Of course, I could be completely wrong,
But Ultraman had its own thing, it had a series, like a television series.
Right.
Maybe Godzilla did. The only one I knew of was the cartoon.
I didn't even know it had a cartoon.
Oh, Paul said contract with the parent company expired last year, so shrug.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay, I'll get more into Godzilla. I have thoughts on these monster movies.
Mm-hmm.
But first, let's talk about some things that aren't our main attraction. Recent watches. Hey, chat, what have you guys been watching? Tell us what to watch. You got do some nerd herding. Herd some nerd stuff for us. You guys got some entertaining recommendations? Nerd herder.
You nerd herders. Now we're encroaching on the nerf herders.
Oh, they could actually spin that guy out to somebody, huh? Hey, careful with spoilers, Savannah.
I watched Dragon Prince, and it was great.
Was it?
So far.
So is this a series or is this a movie?
Yeah, it's a series. It's got 3 seasons. I watched all of them because that's how I do. it's set up similar to what's it called?
Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yes, similar to Avatar: The Last Airbender, where each season is like a book, and each episode is a chapter of that book. So, and if they never finished Avatar, actually, that Last Airbender. It was actually supposed to be 4 books, and they only did 3. But the way this one's set up, if they did a book off of each like element or whatever of magic that they have in this verse, there would actually be 6 seasons. So, but I don't know if they're going to do it or not. But they've done 3. But it was good, and it was interesting, and it brings up ethical questions that you could have long conversations with children about, as I did.
Paul says it stars Sokka from Avatar as well.
It does, and they even do a little callback thing where there's a part where he's riding on the back of this beast creature, and somebody has a stick with little boomerang type things on it, and he's like, "This seems so familiar," and like pulls it off. And if you know from Avatar, Sokka, his weapon was the boomerang. So yeah, they do a little about stuff like that, but it's good on its own. And yeah, I enjoyed it, and I would recommend it to people who enjoy well done children's shows.
Paul said he watched Mighty Ducks. Hey, did that movie, or did they ever come out with that like new Mighty Ducks yet, or is that still a thing
that's is that what he's talking about? Because that just released also on Disney Plus. The series started.
Okay, Paul, you'll have to let us know how that is.
Game changers.
Andrew says he watched Sweet Home on Netflix. So good, and I was not really familiar with what it was. Apparently, it's a TV show. As humans turn into savage monsters, one troubled teen and his neighbors fight to survive and to hold on to their humanity. And that does sound pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
Did you watch that?
I haven't watched it. I saw it advertised to me. I was going to watch it.
Okay.
But then I don't remember what I watched instead, because I thought you might be interested, and I like to save the good things to share with people.
Right. Okay. I thought that was, I do recall seeing that now, and I thought that was that thing that you had watched when we did the Creature of the Week for zombies or something like that.
Mm-hmm. No, I don't think that was when I watched. I think I watched.
Okay. It sounded similar, but maybe I was.
Alive, I think, is what it was called. The one I watched.
Oh, Paul says yes. Second episode is tomorrow. So far, so good on Mighty Ducks. So interesting. I remember, yeah.
But if it doesn't have Pacey, I don't know if I want to watch it.
Listen, we're not talking about Dawson's Creek.
Yeah, but I still don't know him as anything but Pacey.
Oh, is that really? Wait, is that really?
Well, who's Foggy? What's
Oh, I don't know.
Foggy Nelson? That's all I know him as. That, and he's somebody in the Mighty Ducks.
Listen, now I just want to see a Mighty Ducks Daredevil Dawson's Creek crossover series.
It has to have a hallway scene. High sticking.
There's going to be so much fighting and teen drama and underdog stuff.
They're chasing him out into the middle of the lake, but the lake is frozen. Don't go!
Savannah watched a PBS special on history's great commanders and another PBS special called The Story of All of Us, Mankind. Mm-hmm. That sounds riveting. She also says, yes, it's got to have Joshua Jackson.
Yes, a.k.a. Pacey.
Pacey. That's his name. Don't get out of here with this Joshua Jackson. We know his real name.
And actually, Joshua Jackson's confusing because there's several people that have similar names that are not Joshua Jackson that I would get him confused with.
That was all. Wait, that was inspired. Okay, that was Melanie's. Okay. Well, something that Melanie and I have been watching that I would recommend checking out. And actually, I think did Savannah turn you on to this one?
Yeah, she made me watch it.
Resident Alien, which
in the
serves
first episode.
Yeah, it serves as my introduction to The Peacock. I've censored myself. I wanted to skip to the big thing. Yeah. Right. So I downloaded the Peacock to try it, and I was somewhat irritated that I had to do so.
Yeah.
It's free. It's free on there. But we've watched episodes 1 through 3, I think.
Yeah.
And it's a comedy series starring Alan Tudyk, and he is an alien. I mean, it's
yeah.
He's an alien, crash lands on Earth, kills the human Alan Tudyk, replaces him. I mean, he's not playing himself. He's like a doctor or something in a small town. So you get like, it's small town wacky comedy, except like the main character's an alien. But part of, I think, why it works so well, because it's not, some of the writing's like, the plot and like some of the other characters, it's a little typical. But I think of why it works so well is because he plays it unreasonably awkward and like, and I keep expecting like he responds to wait, because he's an alien, so he'll respond to people in ways where it's like, that's really weird and off-putting, and not like, oh, it's kind of wacky. It's like, no, that's weird. And people should not just shrug it off. And some people do kind of just shrug it off. But I would expect more comedies to be like, oh, he's just joking again. But no, like, my favorite moments are when he's super weird and someone just stares at him like, what? Like, upset by it?
Right.
Yeah.
And then the show continues on. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It's kind of bold to have him be so. And I think that's kind of part of the point. Like, since he took over this human body, he's experiencing human emotions, but he still plays it so not human, and it's pretty fun.
It is fun. It's good fun.
I love how he's like, after, I don't want to spoil too much of it, but like it happens in the first episode where he's basically after this kid because his filter or whatever doesn't work on this kid. It's like, for whatever reason, the filter doesn't work. And so he's like chasing this kid down because this kid is the only one that could potentially out him.
There is a little like plot hole, messy stuff around that. I was thinking about that the other day. It's the kind of show where it's like, well, don't think about it too hard. Yeah. But he like physically turned into a human in a way, because he talks about experiencing these human emotions, and it took him like a week to learn, or it took him however long to learn how to move the body and stuff. Yet, so like he should, for all intents and purposes, just physically be a human. Yet, you're right, his filter doesn't work, and the kid sees him as an alien. And it's like, well, that doesn't really make sense. I guess maybe he's seeing his inner him, but it's a little weird.
Yeah.
But it's also the kind of show, it's like, those nitpicks don't matter.
Yeah.
I don't like the sheriff character, but I'm expecting them to go somewhere with him. They're doing a weird race thing. Yeah. But I think I have a suspicion that's going to play into his whatever character development they do with him eventually.
I think that we should all go crazy SJW on Peacock, but not just because it's Peacock, but that's just going to be the excuse. It's just to educate people, because people don't know that a peacock is a male peafowl, because they're not peacocks, they're peafowls, and the boys are peacocks and the females are peahens, and nobody knows this. Like I talk to people about it, and the general population is unaware, and I think that they need to know, and the way that we teach them is by going after CBS. Right?
So Melanie is going to go on no, it's NBC, isn't it? No.
I have no idea.
I think it's NBC. Melanie is going SJW on NBC. The first step is you need to think of a good hashtag to start this movement to get the peacock changed to peafowl. Irregardless, or regardless, however that word's used, Peacock, Peahen, or Peafowl are all terrible names for a streaming service. It's so stupid. As soon as I'm done watching Resident Alien, I'm deleting it off my phone. It's dumb. I do appreciate though that I can watch it for free. Okay, I'm not.
There's a few shows on there that I'm interested in. Just the idea that they turned Brave New World into a series and it's a Peacock original. Like, I'll probably watch that before I get rid of it. There was a deal on it because all the WWE stuff is on there. So I switched over just to try it out. But to be honest, my interest in WWE's product lately is it's in its twilight, I think.
If you go to the Google Play Store for the Peacock app, there are a lot of people very upset with the Peacock about WWE specifically. There are a lot of negative reviews.
Well, they're editing content because now it's on the Peacock.
Oh yeah, there are a lot of negative reviews about it. People are not thrilled.
Why does it? No, I guess I shouldn't encourage people to just start their own streaming services. But it seems like WWE is one that would have done that a long time ago.
They did. But they're getting paid to put the content on NBCs. So
a bunch of people switched over to Peacock, and then were very upset with how it's offered on Peacock. Apparently, I just hate talking about it though. It's so dumb. Peacock. Okay. Come on. I mean, I'm not saying we have to stop, but there's mileage to be had just on the name alone.
Right.
Okay.
Well, would you feel better if it was Peafowl? Would that make you feel better?
Fowl would be in the title, so yeah, that's fine. Put it on Front Street, NBC.
Okay.
It's a good thing Nerd Sounds has to be edited, or else I'd have all kinds of inappropriate things to say about Peacock.
Right. Speaking of which, go to nerdsounds.com for all your nerd sounds.
Yeah. Don't you forget it. Jesse, have you been watching? Yeah, what have you been consuming?
I haven't been watching a whole lot that we won't talk about later, but I have. When I was reading physical comics, remember when those were a thing? Mm-hmm. Like I had a pull list and everything, and I was having them sent to my house. I got into here we go with titles that are questionable for our edited content here, right. But I've been reading Kick-Ass. So yeah, I was a big fan of the original run with what's his name, Dave or whatever, is the main character, this hapless white kid that just thinks he's going to be a superhero. Mm-hmm. Well, they essentially wrapped up that story arc, and then Hit Girl like moved out of the country kind of thing and was taking on drug cartels in different countries and stuff. And so there's this big void, and then they relaunched Kick-Ass, and now it's a different character who's just taking the movement and just taking the idea and wearing the suit and doing her own thing. But she's actually competent. Mm-hmm. Like she's a soldier that did a stint in Afghanistan and has actual like leadership abilities and mm-hmm. military training, and so it's interesting because it's like, wow, this is what it should have been all along. Why did we start with a white kid that can't do anything mm-hmm. and just likes comic books when we could have had a legitimate, like a character? This is like, what if Kick-Ass were Hit Girl?
Right.
Like let's start with a character that's actually good at doing it.
Right.
And so I've read at least the first 2 volumes of it, and then I started the third one. And it's really good. It's really solid, and it just takes it and it just spins it. Like the protagonist is a mom mm-hmm. that came back from her tour, mm-hmm. and her husband left her, and it's like this whole thing, like the dynamic is dramatically changed and much more serious mm-hmm. than the original take, and I'm enjoying it. And it's a person of color in the suit too. So female person of color that can actually handle herself.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. And so all the people who would, like all the people out there making nerd sounds about SJW this or that, you're just doing this to cash in. It was like they don't even mention it. This is what they all claim they want.
Right.
Are people? Well, I don't know if people are.
I'm curious. I haven't heard a whole lot of outcry, so maybe they're like, yeah, this is what we want. But I've gotta think that somebody out there is like, this isn't my kick-ass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because there's always that guy, and it's usually a guy.
Mm-hmm.
What is a nerd sound? How do you not know this by now? What you're hearing is nerd sounds. All we make is nerd sounds.
We make nerd sounds into our phone.
That, well, actually. Well, speaking of comics, but also not, Melanie and I have watched, and I don't know if you have, Jesse, Invincible is on Amazon.
I haven't had a chance to watch. I've just seen some of the trailers.
Mm-hmm.
We watched, I think, 3 episodes.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure how many are out. I want to say they dropped 3 or 4 right off the bat. First episode. Also, they're kind of. I was expecting, for whatever reason, maybe just because it's animated, I was like, well, they're going to be 30 minutes. No, they're like, it's not an hour, but 45, 47 minutes. They're like hour time slot length show. Animated, based on the comic book. If you don't know Invincible, the comic book series by
Robert Kirkman.
And that's a name that I think everybody knows at this point. It's amazing. It's so good. It's since ended. It had like a 10+ year run though. Great series. I was super excited for the any type of like animated or live action thing, because it's been in the works off and on for years.
Mm-hmm.
And the animation, Invincible has a very specific look, and the animation fits it, just because the comic I always thought kind of looked like, I don't want to say run-of-the-mill, but kind of run-of-the-mill modern 2D animated. Just look, thin lines, very clean, but it doesn't have a traditional comic look.
Mm-hmm. It looks like Batman the Animated Series.
Right.
Kind of. Yeah.
Partway through, the majority of the way through the first episode, I was kind of disappointed, because I felt like part of it is I went into it like, Invincible's so great, I hope this is good, and if it's good, it needs to hook people right away so that people keep watching, because I don't think a lot of people know what Invincible is.
Mm-hmm.
And so the first episode in that respect was disappointing me, because it missed all the there was none of the humor that I find in the comic is really that evident.
Mm-hmm.
And there were also some choices about they telegraph heavily some things about, and I'll just say about his father, that I'm like, oh man, don't do that. Part of what makes the first big twist in the comic so good is that you don't see it coming.
Mm-hmm.
And they let you kind of see something coming. And I was like, oh, don't do that. And then the end of the episode happens. And I was like, oh. And I'll go ahead and say, Invincible, the comic, is like fun, but also super serious and super violent. The TV show, they wait till the very end of the first episode, and then out of nowhere hit you with insane violence, just hardcore crazy gore out of nowhere. Because if you're not expecting it, watching the first episode, you're almost to the end of the episode, you're like, okay. And then all of a sudden it's crazy violent.
Yeah, and I went, oh, like 3 times.
It's brutal. So what they did was, because I was like, where's the gotcha moment? Where's the like hook moment? Where if they're gonna hint at things so early, where's the hook moment? And that's what they did. They retooled it. So they kind of give certain things away that I was surprised by, but it's so that they could show you this violent scene that they otherwise would have to hide off off camera to do between scenes. So there's a big thing that happens in the comic that they play for mystery. And in this, they want to show you that violent scene and use the violence as that hook, that like surprise twist that you don't see coming. And so they have to like kind of throw that mystery out the window.
Yeah.
So after the very end of the first episode, I was like, okay, feeling a little bit better. I was still cautious. And yeah, no, a couple episodes in, I don't know that it's as good, but it's pretty good. It's pretty good because then they start introducing like the other characters. What's the name of the teen team? Is it Teen Team?
That is what it's called, yeah.
It's
Team Teen, I think, yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, in the first episode especially, and even through the rest of it, I feel like they've dropped a lot of character development, and that kind of sucks because that's a lot of the fun, in my opinion, is the interactions of the characters because he's so good at characters. Right. But yeah, I mean, you can't fit everything in, and unfortunately, with today's audience, the violence is going to get him more than the quirky buddy, or whatever.
Yeah, that might be what it is. Is a lot of the humor is from character interaction, and there is humor there, and there's humor that comes from the characters, as well as from the scenarios, which is another thing the comic book does well. But no, you're right. Since they do kind of drop a lot of the character interaction, that's where some of that humor went, and that sucks a little bit. They are. I don't think it's inappropriately fast, but they are blazing through some like major like plot lines. But then again, Invincible, they've got so much to. If they want to get through a good chunk in a season or whatever.
Well, when we read it for past episodes, we did 3 volumes because that's what it takes,
Right. That's what it takes. Yeah, I mean, they kind of have to blaze through some stuff because I think another strength of the comic is the long game that it plays, which means you have to you have to be committed before like you really see. There's payoffs that come like 50 issues later that once you get there, you're like, oh my God, this comic is so good. But if you don't ever get there, you just don't know. And so I guess maybe kind of blazing through some of these like events is their way of like tying it together much quicker. Yeah. So for me, I'm nerd herder. Here's where I'm hurting the nerds. Invincible on Amazon Prime. That's my recommend for this week for sure. That's a heavy recommend. Also Resident Alien. Was there anything, Melanie? Did you have anything else you wanted to say about it?
No, I'm good. Dana did ask if we are watching Superman and Lois, which no,
falling way off of anything CW.
Oh, is that CW?
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I haven't watched. Someday I'll get caught up on The Flash, maybe. There's still the big crossover that I didn't ever watch. I wanted the second crossover.
That is worth seeing, but
I want to.
I can't watch it because my nephew wanted me to watch it with him, and I wouldn't because he wouldn't watch the old one with me with Terry Hatcher and whoever that one guy, Dean Cain. And I'm like, it's not good, but you're still gonna watch it. If you watch that, then I'll watch this one. And he was like, no, so I can't. I'm sorry.
It's a stalemate.
Yep.
Why would you do that? Don't do that. I remember watching the old one. Dana says it's good though, the new one.
Okay. Yeah.
They have good chemistry, the principal actors.
Yeah. Cool.
Henry Cavill and Amy Adams.
Oh yeah. Believable.
I don't like Amy Adams.
Melanie and I had a long.
That's a bad romance.
I don't remember why. What inspired it? We had a long conversation about you not liking Amy Adams the other night.
Because I don't like her.
Her.
I don't.
Me and her.
Oh, okay.
I don't completely dislike her as a person or anything. I just dislike her as Lois Lane. That's all.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So.
I have a hard time buying in.
Mm-hmm. And Randy just
didn't
has a
even
problem.
know that
Randy
that was
doesn't-
Martian Manhunter.
Randy doesn't like watching redheads cry, so that's why he doesn't like her.
I think she's okay. I think she's fine. Listen, I don't mind watching redheads cry. Jesse, squirt some tears. I want to see it. No. Julianne Moore. I just can't stand Julianne Moore specifically. Is that her name?
Yes.
I don't like her.
You don't like it when she cries.
No, I just don't like her face. No, I don't. I just don't like her in movies.
Face. Wow.
She's fine. I'm just not a big fan of hers. And Amy Adams kind of reminds me of her a little bit. And gingerist. And it's not because of that. She just, maybe it is, but it's also a little bit of the complexion. Like, she just has a similar look. But I don't find her as off-putting in movies as I find Julianne Moore. I like Amy Adams. I think she's fine.
I need to address the science question in the chat here. Our tear ducts work just fine without a soul. It's you normies and your soul doesn't make crying exclusive to you.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying.
You just sit there and listen to your Lil Nas X and slap on your Satan shoes. Oh, that was something I was thinking about throwing into my little off the top spiel, was something about fighting Satan tennis shoes or something. But
if you haven't seen that, if you guys haven't seen that video, and I checked it out because there was outrage about it, it's, to me, freaking hilarious. And I would recommend you at least watch it once just to see how weird it is, because it's great. I liked it. Not the song, just the video, but still.
If this is kind of outside the scope of some of the stuff, it's still entertainment news, but it's outside the scope of some of the stuff we talk about. So I hadn't really thought or planned on it, but if anybody doesn't know what we're talking about, because I didn't until Melanie told me, but Lil Nas X, who had previously managed to win Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross a country music award when he used some of their samples in a remix of a song that he did. That's still very convoluted.
When you take your horse to the Old Town Road, that's what happens.
Well, apparently he released a shoe or something that was like Satan shoe.
Gesundheit.
A Satan shoe. And it's got pentagrams or something. I don't know. I haven't even seen these shoes. And people are upset because apparently kids like Old Town Road or whatever it's called.
Oh yeah, man, it's crazy. They're crazy about it.
So what? He's a rapper. He's not like a kid show host. But then Melanie played the music video, which was coincidental or maybe a response to the outrage. And it is amazing. It is the gayest music video I've ever seen. And well, that's it. I'm not saying it's bad. It is just watching it. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
This is very gay.
Yeah.
And then he rides a stripper pole down to hell and dry humps Satan and then breaks Satan's neck. So people are slightly upset, I guess.
Yeah.
It was pretty amazing. I don't know. Whatever. I found some of the creature design in the music video a little off-putting, but it's kind of amazing.
I liked it.
Let's see. Okay, catching up on. Give me $666 and I will. Wait, is he selling it for selling the shoes for $666? That's a good way to make $666. I'll tell you.
For real.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's jump. Unless we had anything else, let's jump into our primary things, because I'm going to loop my King of Monsters talk into the Godzilla vs. Kong. But I feel like I've been talking a lot, so I think we should start with Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Okay.
All right.
So,
I think Jesse should start.
Oh boy. Okay. So Falcon and the Winter Soldier is that new MCU thing that they're doing on the Disney Pluses, which is an app you can get, I guess. Anyways, we're continuing the story of Steve Rogers in a sense. This is kind of like the aftermath of Endgame, where now what's going to happen with the Shield? You know, who is the heir to the Shield, and that's where we kind of pick up. We pick up where they left off with Bucky and Sam. So Sam is the Falcon and the Winter Soldier's Bucky James Barnes. And so you have questions already.
Yes. So are you saying, is this something I should have watched Infinity War or Endgame for, and thus also the 20 movies that led up to those? Would I be lost if I just jumped into this with no prior knowledge?
Not as lost as, say, a Godzilla franchise. But
okay. Good call. That's all.
Well,
I'm sorry, continue.
Because this is a TV series and not a movie, they actually have time to kind of delve into it and go, oh, hey, this is a problem because of this. But they do make like references to the blip and not really explain it. You know, they're just like, you were gone for the last 5 years. And we're like, would you elaborate for the people who have no idea what that means? But they don't really. But I mean, like, I love how they're dealing with it like this. So you just recently watched Spider-Man Far From Home, where is like the first time that they kind of address the blip and the world after the blip. But that's all done in a very like tongue-in-cheek kind of campy, oh, the world moves on and we're fine, let's go to Europe kind of way, right? This is how the teenagers deal with it kind of thing. Whereas this is more of a thing where they're dealing with like, how has it affected the economy? There is a whole movement that sprung up in the aftermath and in the wake of everyone coming back. Like there's a group and a movement of people called the Flag Smashers who believe that it's such that's pulled right out of the comics.
I suspected it was. Yeah. It's such a bad name, the Flag Smashers. Like
And it's like the whole idea behind them is that they believe that the world was better when there were less people and that everybody had to, bond together and things were just better. And now everybody's back and it's kind of, all the powers going back to the way it was, that kind of thing. But it's also dealing with the economics of everything, like back when Tony was alive, he's funding the Avengers. Now he's not. Now you don't have that Stark money necessarily. Or he's not receiving it the same way, or I don't know. I don't understand the full logistics.
I was a little unclear on like the Falcon's not freelance, but still independent. But I'm like, I mean, that's not Avengers jet he's flying around. He's like in the back of a cargo ship and stuff.
Yeah, so, it feels like he's doing military missions.
Well, it's probably like a mercenary.
Right.
Paul says a lot of pro bono. Yeah, I kind of had questions about that. Anyway,
it makes me think of in what's that, Punisher, where before he got his face smushed up in the carousel, that guy, it seemed, I can't remember his name right now, he worked for the government, I'm pretty sure, but he would go on weird, off the books missions and do stuff like that. It feels like something like that, which usually is kind of a bad thing, but whatever.
Yeah, because he definitely has, and I
he's
say
a contractor, isn't
right?
Right.
Yeah. Or what is that real? Like, is it Blackwater, Black something?
Yeah,
like
Blackwater.
There's a real world. Yeah, they do stuff like that, I think.
Right.
Where they're over there doing ops and stuff, and government is cool with it, or they're working for the government, but they're not.
Oftentimes they're footing the bill for it. But,
right. Yeah. But they're not actual military.
And they make a lot more money than the soldiers oftentimes.
Right.
So
Paul says that's why it pays better to be a villain.
Yep.
So episode 1 of Falcon and the Winter Soldier is just kind of like us catching up with them. So Bucky, the Winter Soldier, he's been pardoned, but as part of his part of his pardon, he has to go through therapy, and so they really kind of dive into that, and they're kind of dipping back into unraveling the programming that he got with Hydra, all the bad things that he's done. He's slowly having to come to terms with it, and he's got a list of people that he's trying to either make it right, or he's trying to like right the wrongs.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that, and then there's Sam, who's trying to just like keep his family afloat because he's been gone for 5 years, and they've had to survive without him. And so he comes in, like, we can't sell the family boat, and his sister's like, we have to sell the family boat. It's it's one way we can survive here. Yeah. And they even go to the bank and that kind of thing. So that's where they delve into the economics of it a little bit. And then they end that episode with they've had a big like cliffhanger for each episode because there's only been 2. And they just throw us all a curve because Sam decides not to hang on to the shield. He gives it back to the government. And so what does the government do? Immediately find a new Captain America.
Right away. By the way, hi, Clara.
Yep. Hey.
Hello.
There were a few things. I enjoyed the bank scene where it's like he's an Avenger. He's saved the world or whatever, or at least kind of been around while Avengers were saving. Whatever. He's an Avenger, but he doesn't exactly have a stable work history, so they can't give him a loan. It's like, oh man, yeah, that is how it would be. That is how it would be. You could be like a super famous superhero. Banks would be like, nah, that sounds kind of high risk to me.
Right.
But
when he's still, because
technically, aren't they supposed to? I mean, I know they like disappeared like in an ashy sort of way, but aren't they supposed to wait like 7 years before they declare somebody dead if they disappear?
Oh, right. He was one of the ones that disappeared though too, huh? I was gonna say because before.
Yeah, that's why I kept getting so mad. I mean, and I understand his sister has had to deal with, everything without him while he was gone. But it upset me that she was being so mean to him about being gone. And I'm like he had a choice, It's not like he abandoned you. He was freaking disappeared. You know what I mean?
Was essentially murdered. He was vaporized out of existence. I agree. I don't think she should have been like. I think it is a low blow to keep saying it because she said it multiple times. Like you were gone, but at the same time, he can be upset about it. But like, I think he's in the wrong to give her so much guff about having to sell the boat. Be like, dude, where's your money? You got money? Yeah. You gonna throw in on this? Okay, we'll keep the boat if you can pay for my house or whatever.
Right.
But he didn't really seem to have money.
Which I think is what his play at the bank was supposed to be, is like, hey,
his way of,
you want to take a selfie with me, let's throw this around.
He needs to learn the art of the hustle and go run around and do that and like be like, hey, I can come to your event and you can pay me to, I don't know, cut your ribbon or something and make some money that way. That might have been helpful, but just running into a bank and being like, haha, pictures give you money isn't really going to work.
Right.
Oh, Paul says he gave the shield to the museum and then the government took it back.
I think it was a museum run by the government, though.
Right.
I think it was like the Smithsonian type of thing, like the Captain America Museum.
It's a raw deal because, he gave it back, but also like he's like, no, it belongs here. Like it was his shield.
That's true.
And
that's fair.
Specifically indicated that he wanted it there, and they're like, okay, cool. Yoink.
Yeah.
But what else? Of course they're gonna do that.
Yeah, but I mean, that's how they got a lot of stuff that's in the museums anyway.
I was gonna say they gave it to Paul Walker, but that's not his name. It's John Walker.
Yeah.
CGI James Dean as Paul Walker
as Chin Man.
Paul Walker would have made a good Captain America.
As Creeper Chin Captain
Just
America.
Throw that out there.
Yeah,
He'd have too much drift on the shield, though. It'd be weird. Too much Tokyo drift at that.
Oh, it's like a Wanted. He's curving bullets, but it's the shield. Although I guess it would actually maybe make more sense with the shield if they just went like frisbee or boomerang with it, but whatever. Wanted.
Yes.
That's what we're gonna review next. No, not really. The first episode, it was fine. Like they started with a big action scene, but part of my thing going in, now that we're into it, I enjoy the Marvel TV series so far because, like we've talked about on previous episodes, it sucks that the movies are basically just super big budget TV episodes, and then you have to wait a year, 2 years for the next episode. Like they are super serialized to kind of, again, also point back to talking about coming into one of the later movies without watching the other ones. So I enjoy the smaller actual TV episodes, serialized versions of these. I mean, we went one episode where we didn't have one or two episodes where we didn't have a WandaVision, and now it's like right back to like, hey, another Marvel series to talk about.
Yeah.
I do enjoy that. That said, like, this kind of felt like a little bit of the basic Ratchet, like, here's one for the guys that like, you know, military stuff and big explosions type deal.
With the first episode, I was kind of iffy on. I was like, I'm still going to watch it, but I told Holly, I was like, yeah, if you're not interested, you don't need to watch it. But then episode 2 comes out and they hit us with a bunch of stuff that I'm like, whoa, look at where they're going with this.
Paul calls the new Wish.com Captain America. That's great.
Oh, well, especially the way they end that. Like they end that episode with the like his ears are just like huge under that. Like it's like they gave him the worst helmet possible. You just like, you're supposed to hate him, huh?
And listen, I don't want to trash talk. He's a handsome actor man, okay? He's much more handsome than me. I'm not going to trash talk this handsome actor man too much. But that helmet and the mask like accentuates his worst features.
Right.
I wouldn't say he's more handsome than you, baby. You got a pretty handsome face.
Right. And you're dating me.
Yes.
He's probably got more money though.
Is it Wyatt Russell? Isn't he related to now I've lost it. Kurt Russell.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
He's very chinny.
Yeah.
Paul touches on something, and this is, I mean, I feel like maybe they touched on it a little bit in the first episode, but this is something they definitely lean into the second episode. So you had mentioned the second episode you liked better.
Yeah.
And it had left another cliffhanger, and you thought it was interesting now that they're kind of exploring Captain America characters without being confined just to Captain America.
Right.
You know, Steve
it's like they're expanding the universe more now that Steve Rogers isn't even there.
Right.
It's like all these characters that, you know, tie into the Steve Rogers character, but now they're going to explore them more. So, you know, like John Walker is the U.S. agent. When U.S. agent became Captain America, it was because Captain America got tired of taking orders from the government that he didn't believe in. And he's like, no, I'm out. I'm Captain America, but I'm not just here to take your orders. I'm here to do what's right. And so he left. And so the government replaces Captain America with a guy that will do what they want. And that's essentially what we're getting. I mean, I think that's what is going to become more and more clear as this series probably progresses. This is, again, a theory, so it could be WandaVision, and it could be Agatha all along. I don't know. But, I mean, if it progresses in a logical fashion with where they're kind of setting it up, then I think we're going to see more and more of John Walker being, you know, not the poster boy that we think he is.
Yeah, I feel like they're already leaning a little bit that way.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I don't care how good he is at his job. He's not going to be able to compete against super soldiers or super whatever villains without some without getting something to help him fight against them more. And I can see that thing changing him. You know what I mean? Whatever it's going to end up being. And I mean, this is all speculation.
He'll become Nuke.
That's
do it. Bring in Nuke. The boys. Oh man, no, dude. Jessica Jones. Overall, I like that series. They didn't do Nuke justice.
No.
No pun intended. Things that so talking about was it Johnny Walker?
John Walker.
Really?
Yeah, it's
Johnny
John Walker.
Huh? That comic book writer liked himself some drink, huh?
Mm-hmm.
John Walker magically towards the end of the second, not magically. Yeah, you know what? People's stuff grows fast, but I noticed distinctly he had a 5 o'clock shadow suddenly towards the end of the second episode. So I'm thinking maybe there's some shuffling of scenes going on, but at a certain point I was like, he's definitely going to go bad, because just looking at his face, and this ties into Paul's comment of he looks great without the mask. He's a handsome looking actor, man.
Right.
He has a good face for a villain though, and I'm like, I don't think you cast that guy as Captain America and not go villainish with him, because he does have a potentially good villain face.
It's moon shaped.
Right. It is. Yeah, I did like the second episode more. Part of it was, and it's the typical fun Marvel kind of writing, but you get a little bit of like buddy cop.
Yeah.
Now. We kind of leaned into that. And there's a lot of humor there, and it's ridiculous. And there were things in it, the couples therapy scene, where I'm like, there's no reason, like there's no actual like lead up to this. It's just like, we're just gonna do this because it's funny comedy scene.
Right.
That said, the comedy helped. I thought I enjoyed it. Of the first episode, is it Sam? Sam's
Falcon.
The guy? Falcon.
Yeah,
his stuff was okay. I like the Bucky stuff, but Bucky's moody and he was an assassin, so that's just automatically more interesting to me.
Right.
And we get a good mix of, I mean, they're both in like almost every scene together.
Right.
But yeah, so that's interesting. And as we mentioned, what did Paul say about? Paul says, I think they're going to lean heavy into the racial inequities in Sam's storyline, and Bucky's is going to be a moral dilemma about losing his one actual friend, the number one on his atonement list. Yeah. The racial inequities story. Yeah, no, the systemic racism issue. That is interesting to me. I'm
the fact that Disney is doing it.
I'm impressed.
Like, whoa.
Disney and using a Marvel property to do it. I'm impressed.
Yeah.
And maybe
it's not going to be perfect. It's not perfect, but
right. Well, they even like the cops show up and they automatically suspicious of Sam, but in the end, Bucky's the one that got
he's the one in cuffs.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, in terms of what you thought that scene was going to be, it's a fun turn, but it's also like maybe not a scene where you need a fun turn.
Mm-hmm.
I was shocked that they went with Isaiah already. Like they pulled in the Truth miniseries with the super soldier experimentation that they did when Captain America was still frozen or lost at sea. They tried to recreate the super soldier and serum, and they were experimenting on African American soldiers in this miniseries. And so we get to see that. Spoilers, I guess. I mean, we've been spoiling this whole thing, but yeah, there was this whole scene. I was kind of like, wow, they're going for deep cuts, and I'm here for it.
Yeah,
it's something I think we talked a little bit about during WandaVision and I'm not nearly as well versed. I'm not even saying I'm well versed at DC Comics lore or history, but I'm not nearly as well versed at the Marvel stuff. But I had mentioned like watching the various videos that were coming out because everybody wanted to like get on that WandaVision views,
Sure.
you know. How many Easter eggs and really deep cut little things were in that series, and I'm sure are also going to be in this, that are references to comic stuff, fairly obscure comics, Marvel comic stuff,
Right.
that I would have never caught, and I'm sure most people wouldn't. And it's like, you know what? They didn't even have to do that. It was actually probably a hassle that somebody's like, you know what? We should reference. Like, that does come from kind of a passion for the comics, so I appreciate that is there behind it. It's not, I mean, it's all big money, but it's not a completely soulless cash grab. A lot of this, there are at least people who are into it working on the projects, so that definitely helps, I think. It was Zemo all along.
Well, and speaking of, there's your cliffhanger at the end. They don't know what to do. So what are you going to do? You're going to put Bucky in a room with Zemo, the guy who can turn him back into the Winter Soldier.
Why does
potentially?
Why does he have to go in there?
I don't know.
Sam just go in there.
Yeah. I don't know.
Oh, interesting. I had mentioned. Oh no, it was Winter Soldier, wasn't it? That was the deal. The movie, I mean. So we mentioned Civil War earlier. Anyway.
Well, I think Zemo was the big bad wasn't Zemo the big bad in Civil War?
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
In one of them, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I thought.
Yes, Paul. This is definitely less of a think piece than WandaVision and more of an action adventure show. I will agree. And I will watch it because I feel like it's my duty at this point. But I'm looking forward to
Loki.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of wasn't until I seen the trailer for that thing.
I don't know why the only reason you don't like Loki is because I love Loki.
I like that actor. I can't think of his name right
Hiddleston.
Tom Hiddleston. I like him a lot. I think he's great. I think I've actively searched out other stuff he's been in other than Marvel things, like that weird high-rise tower movie. Was it called High Rise or Tower or something like that? Very strange. But
I like that movie.
There's a vampire movie with him and Tilda Swinton. If you want to get real weird.
Oh, I can't remember.
Only
the name
Lovers
of it,
Left Alive, I believe, is what it's called, and it's Tilda Swinton and Tom Hiddleston they're vampires who live in Detroit.
Okay, yeah, that sounds like it gets weird. So I got derailed by comments. I'm sorry. Anyway,
how about Red Wing, man?
Is this a little
he got destroyed.
Right.
Yeah, just like bam.
It made for a good laugh because Bucky's like, I want to do that for so long. Oh, that was the other thing with the racial aspect of it is
the sidekick.
I mean, is it accidental that Captain America also has a black sidekick? I don't think so. Especially since they are obviously taking that angle.
Yeah.
It pays to watch the previous movies. Paul says, "Okay."
I do really like the.
Andrew points out. I'm sorry.
No, go
Andrew
ahead.
points out Hiddleston was in Kong Skull Island. He was.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
That'll tie into. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Melanie.
I was just gonna say I like the I don't know, Rebels, Renegades, I suppose they're kind of making them the bad guys, but I don't feel like they're the bad guys.
Right. No, Power Brokers will be the bad guys.
Yeah, I agree. That girl, the like brave looking.
Oh yeah, like brave because she's got curly red hair.
Yeah.
Well, and then she kicks Bucky right out of the truck. That was awesome.
Yeah, she is so cute, and I hope nothing bad happens to her because I'm rooting for her already. I don't even know her backstory, but I'm sure she's at heart a good person, and you can't have hair like that and not be a good person.
It's funny. They really did flip it from episode 1 to episode 2. They went from being clearly bad people to boom, having like having almost a family bond type of thing and a real mission, and they're being hunted.
And it seems like all they've been doing, I could be wrong, but so far all they've been doing is delivering supplies to people.
Right, like vaccines and like good stuff.
Like, I'm assuming all these people that were gone in the blip come back, all of their stuff has already been taken. And most likely they didn't come back and they were like, oh, well, we'll just give you a house and some food and some, at least in a lot of countries, that's not how it's going to work. So they're probably living in slums or worse, and these people are trying to help them. That makes a lot of sense to me. And I can see where some governments or people would consider them the bad guys, but obviously that, in my opinion, would be the right thing to do. So
I feel like their messaging is a little unclear because they seemed upset about the blip people coming back, that it was better when they were gone.
Mm-hmm.
And then somebody had said something about it was better while they were gone, and then they come back and basically all the wrong people got put right back where they were, and everything went back to normal.
Well, but that kind of still works with it for me because, if you are a rich and powerful person and you come back, you're going to be like, I want my stuff. I'm rich and powerful. And they're like, oh, yeah, you're rich and powerful. Here's your stuff. If you were me or you and we disappeared for 5 years and we come back and we're like, I need my apartment and my stuff, they're going to be like, yeah, your stuff's long gone. Sorry, buddy. You're homeless now. You know what I mean? So in that way, that's completely correct. Yeah, all the wrong people would get everything back. And I wouldn't say all the wrong people. I'm sure there's rich people that are perfectly nice, but you know what I mean?
They're all wrong.
I was going to say there's some mighty fine people on both sides of the blip.
Yeah. No, in all, like I was looking through our list of stuff we've been watching. I was like, yeah, this has all been decent TV. There's some good TV right now. And I'm glad because I was really starting to worry. And some of this was probably shot before the pandemic, but I was really like starting to, in terms of like looking at new stuff coming out, starting to feel that like inevitable, like more so than before, lull of entertainment. To new entertainment to talk about and to watch because of the pandemic, because of a lot of things got shut down or had to go stop for at least several months.
Yeah.
And I feel like this was probably shot before, but I could be wrong. I know Disney had to shuffle the shows around a little bit. I think that initially they were going to put them out in a different order, and then because of COVID and all the delays or all the stuff, everything got delayed, and they kind of shuffled which series came out when. So, which is,
I thought that this one was going to come out first.
That might have been. I kind of feel like, and maybe they didn't. Maybe WandaVision felt like a bigger gamble for them, but I feel like it was maybe smart to do WandaVision first.
Right.
Just because it's fresh enough to where you're not going to jump into it and be like, okay, well, it's just more like kind of fun action, but like more of the same Marvel stuff. Whereas WandaVision is also kind of that, but it's enough just other stuff, and
it's magical. Don't lie, it's magic.
Interesting ideas that it would seem fresh.
Magic.
Oh, Andrew said that lady was in Solo. Her character in that was a little misunderstood too. I've never watched Solo, a Star Wars story or whatever the full title is. Solo, that's one of those. Who was the original director on that? I want the cut of Solo, whatever cut of Solo. Get Opie out of there.
Was it Ron Howard? Yeah, Ron Howard.
Well, they brought Ron Howard in to finish
to
it or whatever. Yeah.
Well, can we get the what's his name from Shaun of the Dead?
Oh, Edgar Wright.
You want the Edgar Wright Ant-Man?
Yes, I do. That's
All
what
you
I
need
want.
to do is refilm the entire movie.
Yeah, give him
Do
a
it.
couple extra million,
Couple
and
extra
let's see
million.
how it was always intended.
Mhm.
We're gonna get to that. There has been some. When we get into nerd sounds at the news or turning our noses up at the news. Uh, Snyder Cut has had some effects on DC movies, the DC slate, and I'm
Ugh.
not particularly happy about it.
Mm.
It's
Yeah.
not, and no, it's not hashtag release or continue the Snyderverse or whatever.
Revive
Yeah.
the Snyderverse or whatever it was.
Revive,
Yeah.
resurrect, motherbox the Snyderverse.
Did you watch the honest trailer of the Snyder Cut?
Yes, I
Yeah.
did, but it's all
Motherbox,
gone
motherbox,
right now.
motherbox.
Yes,
Yes.
so many.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was a question I had about them in the movie in the first place, and I'm like, maybe he said it perhaps at some point when he this is dark side. Maybe he said that perhaps at the first time when he came to the planet and grabbed a bunch of ground and whatever. But even if he did, I don't think anybody was close enough to understand what he was saying. And again, I could be wrong, but in this they don't do it that way. But I don't assume that all the aliens in the universe speak English, so they shouldn't have been able to understand him anyway. How do they all know it's called a mother box? Really? Got it. Little things like this drive me crazy all the time.
I'm muted because the comics know. I don't know. Paul says WB is putting their foot down. I mean, nah. If they did put their foot down, they wouldn't have given.
WB is
given him 70 million.
Putting their foot down on Disney.
No, we're talking. No, all the DC stuff is Warner Brothers.
Oh. Sorry.
It's okay. Justice League is Warner Brothers.
Right.
And somehow
Yeah, we just kind of jumped ship. I mean, just to put a pin in Winter Soldier,
Yes,
Falcon
please.
and the Winter Soldier, just to put a pin in that, it's really good. I mean, like it's ending on some strong cliffhangers. I feel like it's progressing. Episode 1 was okay, but I was like, you could take it or leave it. Episode 2, I was like, they're building some stuff that's interesting, and you could talk about outside of even just the comic book nerd stuff. So I'm interested to see where it's going, and so I'd recommend it too.
Paul says post Snyder Cut they said, quote, "You get what you get even if you throw a fit," end quote. Yeah, well, sure. They're gonna get replaced. Turnover on movie execs apparently seems very high. So constantly. So whatever. They could say whatever they want. They probably weren't even working there when the movie was shot to begin with. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm probably wrong. So okay, I want to jump over to then Godzilla. This will be mostly me, I suppose, but you guys can feel free to chime in on any stuff
that we haven't watched.
It's gonna happen. You're gonna have things to say, Melanie. It happens every time we talk about a thing you haven't seen. You still have things to say.
Okay.
And I'm not gonna just talk about Godzilla vs. Kong, because first I watched Godzilla King of the Monsters the other day. I had not seen it yet. No, I want Ayer cut. I want. Give us the Richard Donner. What's his name?
Richard Donner from the Superman movies.
Yeah, he was supposed to. Okay, so we've seen his version of Superman 2 and the original director's version of Superman 2. He was also supposed to do Superman 3 and didn't. Let's see his
original vision that was never even started.
More slapstick all the time. Okay, so King of the Monsters. I want to talk about that one real quick. That was the Godzilla movie that came out before this recent Godzilla movie. It was, I guess if you want to...
It was the second Godzilla movie.
Second Godzilla movie. Third in their weird modern American kaiju universe. Monsterverse, whatever they called it. Okay, so I'll just say I gave it 2.5 stars. There's a lot of there's a lot of super cool stuff, but I found that I think
not enough Ken Watanabe telling them to fight.
No, there was lots of him but they even had another character referencing him telling things to fight.
Right.
No, okay, just because. So Savannah had a post about Snyder vs. Kong, and it got me thinking.
Did you say Snyder versus Kong?
Snyder vs. Kong, yes. Let them fight.
Let them fight.
That'll
be a long movie. It'd be so long. It'd be longer than Godzilla's tail.
Reboot the Godzilla King Kong universe. Scott Snyder heads it all. It's gonna be so moody.
It would take him 3 hours for Godzilla to get out of the ocean.
Kong's gonna have a tattoo across his forehead says like, "No bananas."
No monkey business.
Well, that's it. That's even better. Okay. I have no idea where any of that was going. Anyway, King of the Monsters. No, my issue, I think it's better than the first Godzilla. The first recent Godzilla.
Yeah.
Which I think our big issue was that movie was dull. There was the Godzilla stuff, which was cool. The monster stuff.
Yeah.
And then the human characters were so nothing. The one human character that I really liked, they got rid of like in the first 20 minutes or so, Bryan Cranston. And I didn't even like his character. I just liked Bryan Cranston.
Right.
But like the human characters were nothing, just devoid of any personality or interesting motivation or anything. And it spent way too much time on them. And King of the Monsters, the human characters in general, I just kind of didn't like. And we still spent too much time on them.
Right.
At least it was... I don't know. It's just weird. Like they're kind of jet setting all across the globe. It's going to be a little intertwined with my thoughts on Godzilla vs. Kong. Godzilla vs. Kong, I gave 4 stars. I think this is the best of the 4, in my opinion. And I was actually a little surprised when I hopped on like Letterboxd. The average is sitting around 3, and I was like, really? This is wow. Okay, I've really enjoyed it. Apparently more than other people. King of the Monsters had a lot more monsters, of course, but it had more like monster fight set pieces. It seemed, of course, it was a longer movie, but I feel like the linking monster fight to monster fight, and essentially that's all these movies need to do. And it seemed like it took them 3 movies, ignoring the entirety of the Godzilla movies since 50s or whatever. Took them 3 movies to figure out how to do that in a way that's not just dragging the movie down. Because King of the Monsters, the characters, I wasn't invested. They were ridiculous. We spent too much time, and I guess the link from monster fight to monster fight, it's just like, I don't know. There's just, okay, here's a prime example of just stupid stuff in that movie. Ken Watanabe, spoilers for King of the Monsters. He dies, and they give him the heroic death, except like it was so unnecessary, and they set it up with just a line of dialogue. They're like, okay, well, we just need to detonate this bomb. That'd be great, but our weapon system just got took out. It did? You couldn't show us that? Like, you're literally just some no-name character off in the sides, like, our weapon system's out, we can't detonate it.
All it would take was like a second of them showing the control board like in sparks, and then it was like, yeah, they're toast.
They couldn't even do that, and they give him this big like hero's death thing, and it's like the laziest way to like the laziest setup to get to that, and that was still unnecessary. The dude was just tired of living. He volunteered. He was, because he volunteered for it. There was no reason, and he's in a little like sub or whatever, space or aircraft or whatever, full of soldiers. They're soldiers. I know soldier. Listen, I'm not saying a soldier wants to do that, but it's their job. If somebody has to like stay behind to get the mission done, it's the soldiers, not the random brilliant scientist in there. Okay, like it doesn't make sense. And that's a good example of just like the stupidity in and a little bit of the laziness in the story.
Mm-hmm.
Again, as I was telling Savannah, like, you don't watch these movies for the plot or the story. But the plot or story shouldn't annoy me or make me roll my eyes. It like put a little bit of care into it. Godzilla. Go ahead.
A question for the Godzilla. Not the Godzilla. What was the last one? Not the current one. The last one. What's it called?
King of Monsters.
Yes. If you watched that, I should say, in IMAX, do you think it would have been a better movie?
It was good.
You watched it in IMAX?
Yeah, we watched both of them in IMAX. It's just a lot of fun because it's huge.
Mm-hmm.
2.5. I guess it feels okay. I love the monster scenes in that movie, though.
Mm-hmm.
Even they weren't perfect, though. I think if it was just like great monster scenes, the story is crap, then it'd be Godzilla vs. Kong. But King of the Monsters, lots of monster scenes, awesome. Like, they course corrected in the right way after Godzilla, where it's like needs more monster scenes. Everything else was just boring. And this is like, okay, monster scenes. But my beef with the monster scenes is so much of it is at night, and there's CGI. It's all CGI, of course. The monsters, the cities, everything's CGI. But there's like smoke.
They couldn't get real Godzillas to come to New York. So. I know they're all busy.
Have the budget.
It's just seasonal,
cheap, lazy.
Yeah. They don't like Cuomo either.
No, okay, but in the first Godzilla and in the most recent, there are night scenes, but like this, so many of them were in the night scenes during downpours or blizzard or constant smoke, to where it like I kind of got annoyed. I was like, just give me a good-looking monster fight scene. I'm tired of it constantly just being thick CGI environment covering half the scene. Like, just give me something that looks nice. There were some awesome scenes. Monster Zero, I played it for Melanie. When Monster Zero wakes up or calls all the other monsters, it's so cool. There's the shot where he's like on the volcano, and there's a cross in the foreground, and it does the weird, like, I really appreciated the weird, because there's 3 heads, whatever, and it like does its like yell 3 times, but it's not just 3 yells. It's like the one you looped, so it sounds kind of weird. I love that. I love the little bits. They didn't use a lot of it. The little bits of the classic Godzilla music, and even a little bit of the Mothra music in parts. And so that stuff, I was there for that, but I was also bored to the point where I was watching the movie thinking, I should get on my phone, or I kind of want to go do this in the other room. And that's not how I watch movies. I don't ever mess around. I ain't no Jasper, okay? I don't ever play around on my phone. That's a jab at Jasper, only because since we used to talk movies all the time, like, I know he does other things while watching movies, and that annoys me because I don't do that. I know lots of people do that. That's not unique to Jasper. But I don't do that. In this movie, I was so bored, I kind of wanted to do that. And I didn't do that for Justice League, okay? Yeah, that's a 4-hour-long movie.
Yeah, that's a stretch.
So I was like, there's something wrong. I love Paul's typos.
Oh, your phone, man.
Shots fired. No. Listen, David Lynch would be very disappointed in the way that Jasper watches movies.
Yeah, right.
On his phone, and also not always on the foreground app in the phone.
I'm sorry, that's yeah. Wow.
To think you've watched a movie on your effing phone. Okay. Listen, if you don't know what we're talking about, Google or YouTube David Lynch iPhone. That's all you need. It's so good. Okay, anyway, jumping forward. Godzilla vs. Kong, the new movie. I loved it. I kind of love this movie. I love this movie.
It took them 3 movies to just listen to the ghost of Ken Watanabe, who's just like, this whole time he's like, they're monsters. Let them do what they do. Let them fight. Finally, the directors even heard Ken Watanabe's voice in this 3rd movie.
Right. It took him till the movie he's not in to get it right. He wasn't in Skull Island either, but I also didn't really care for that one. So, and this gets to my comment. Savannah had posted on Facebook that she watched Godzilla vs. Kong, and she had so many questions, and it was so bad. And I was like, I kind of thought it was the best one, but reading through people's replies, turns out Savannah didn't even know the previous 3 movies existed. So she had, because this does the thing where it's not that there's a lot of lore, but it sets up motivations, monster motivations, and like what these organizations are that are kind of integral to where if you don't know anything about it, it would be like, what? So yeah, that's a strike on that movie. But here's all you need to know. The plots are dumb. The characters are either dumb and or boring. They're just there to get from one monster fight to another. I would like it to be a better movie than that, but that's the best you can really reasonably expect, I think. And this movie does that well to where, there's some dumb plots. It would be so easy to pick apart. There's characters that they're not great. I do like kind of essentially are 2 of our leads that are kind of in the mix the most. One of them is Alexander Skarsgård, and there's a woman. I'm sorry, I can't remember her name. And even though there's really not much to their characters, like the one had a brother who died, or maybe that's a connection to a previous movie or something, and it's like, okay, well, whatever. But they're good actors, even if they're not given much to act on. I just found them more interesting people, I guess, to follow. But where this movie gets it right, where the other movies failed, is all that is a minimum. Like, really, the main plot is, how is this monster getting to this spot to fight this monster? Now, how are they getting to this spot to fight this monster? And all the human stuff just is there to, like, enable that. And we're with them long enough to get to that point, and then when it's time for monster stuff to happen, they're just literally tagging along. They're just following behind in their little airships or whatever, just like, okay, cool.
They're watching the fight too.
There's I hope I got this right, but there's the guy that plays I've been watching Atlanta. The guy that plays Paperboy in Atlanta is kind of the comedic character in this movie, and it's not great. I like that guy, but the comedic character in this movie I found far less annoying than comedic character in the last movie. And again, you only kind of have to put up with him for their scenes to get the plot to a certain point, and then we get to move on. Millie Bobby Brown, 11, who was in the last movie, and I think off mic talked about why there wasn't much for her to do in the last movie, but at least she did have things that affected the plot.
Right.
There's no reason for her to be in this movie. She ends up with a group of people, and I guess they use her to, like, bring these people together. I'm trying not to get into spoilers. She ends up with people that do affect the plot, but I was thinking about it later as, like, because the 2, like, returning characters from the last movie are her and her father. They don't need to be there. I feel like they're only there to connect the last movie.
Right.
If you took them out, you could easily, like, I feel like the comedic character was, in whatever the original draft of this was just doing this whole bit on his own. And the fact that she got tagged along with him was just like, well, where do we put her? Well, okay, here we go. Paul says, I hate the British kid. Was he British? I mean, he definitely had an accent. I was like, it sounded like he should be in a Taika Waititi movie. It sounded like
He's a New Zealander. Or?
maybe he's British. I don't know. It seemed like it fluctuated a little bit. Yeah, no, that kid sucks too. I guess he was another comedic character, but even he contributed to the plot, like contributed to things happening. I guess Millie Bobby Brown's thing was like her contribution was he was her friend, and that's why he's even there. Whatever. Okay, Paul says, okay, I don't. She does too have a purpose. She's the only one on Godzilla's side, but it doesn't. In the last movie that had an effect, it doesn't have an effect. She doesn't interact with anyone else who cares ever if Godzilla is good or bad. Okay, anyway, I don't want to go too far into that. I will say Godzilla have, because it starts heel turn. It's so quick too. It starts off the movie and people are like, Godzilla's no longer our savior, our monster savior, like literal headline on the screen. I'm like, oh, okay, monster savior, okay. Kong. Let's talk about Kong for a second. I like Kong in this movie. King Kong's fine, like in general, I guess, but between Godzilla versus Kong, I'm like, it's gonna be Godzilla every time, and that's who I would root for. It made me like, he's a sad monkey. Don't beat up the sad monkey. Like, I like Kong in this movie.
I don't like any movie where they put King Kong and Godzilla together because it's ridiculous to pretend like King Kong would ever be anywhere near as big as Godzilla. And pretending like that's true is wrong. So that's my feelings. I'm not a huge fan of any of them anyway. I have watched some old Godzilla movies, and yeah, they're fun, I suppose. But yeah, I'm not really into it. And I also wondered why Mothra is anything to worry about, because can't you just like rub the dust off of his wings and then he's done? I mean, anyway. But that being said, I've seen enough King Kong movies and I've seen enough Godzilla movies to know that there's no way that this monkey is going to be big enough to fight Godzilla. And if you try to make him that big, he's unreasonably big. Like he wouldn't even fit on an island to hide him.
That is something he is big.
They made him bigger in Kong for sure.
Skull Island must be real big. Okay.
Right.
No, they also there's a lot of sci-fi tech I noticed in the last movie because there kind of has to be, or else because we just don't have technology to deal with things that they want us to be able to do, like to contain these things. So there's kind of a lot of sci-fi tech in these last two movies I noticed. But yeah, Kong Skull Island scaled him up a lot, and I remember people talking about that, like because he is way bigger than King Kong traditionally is, and people are like, well, that's because they're working towards a Kong versus Godzilla versus Kong movie, and that's exactly right.
How big did they scale him up though? Like big enough that instead of grabbing a woman, like she sat in a cell on his fingertip, because that's how big he would have to
big
be.
Enough that when a woman goes to touch his hand, it's literally just like tiny handprint on the tip of his finger. Like it's like the tip of his finger is huge compared to a person's hand. Okay. He's huge.
Well, he's got to be if he's going to fight Godzilla.
Also, that was another comment I think Savannah had made about they keep changing sizes. They kind of do. I mean, it's not like you see him grow and shrink, but if you like really analyze it from scene to scene, there's times when Kong is as big as a skyscraper, and there's times when he needs to be small enough he can lean back against a scraper and like relax. Like there's definitely size changes. Also, something I didn't notice in King of the Monsters, but I remember people talking about in Godzilla. Godzilla got them wide glide thighs back. Did you guys remember talking about people were joking?
Oh yeah, they were all mad about how thick Godzilla was. Yeah,
those thighs, man. Those Godzilla thighs are huge in this, and I don't remember it in King of the Monsters. Maybe they just didn't use those like shoot from front on that much, like where you could see his like legs. He's way wide. It's like one of his legs is pretty much as big as his body.
Was he accidentally knocking down like mountains and buildings and stuff? Because if not,
I mean,
that's not
yeah, technically, that's the one thing. I was like, okay, so Kong and Godzilla at different times are considered good guys, but like they're the kind of good guys where every time they fight, entire cities die. So they accidentally knock down
like Superman.
Yeah, your average run of the mill Superman.
Snyder movie.
Yeah, Zack Snyder movie. Every time they fight, Zack Snyder happens. That's why it's Snyder vs. Kong.
Yes.
Okay, wrapping up.
Yeah, I don't know that we have time to make
we
nerds
don't
out
have to do
at news.
We don't have to do news. It's fine.
Okay.
Somebody had also said, where was it? Something about Kong being very human-like in this.
Paul said it. Kong is very human in this movie.
He is, and I kind of appreciated it because I was like, it is a wise choice to kind of like make Kong seem very sympathetic. Godzilla is very much more, because the other movies, they kind of make Godzilla the champion, right? In this one, he does come across as much more, not alien, but alien, much more monster than Kong. And I was like, he's a monkey. It's smart to do it that way, but like, the movie opens. I'll tell you, the opening scene is kind of humorous because it's ridiculous. It's Kong waking up in the morning. Oh, he's kind of tired. He's kind of sore. There's some like old music. What's that?
Grabs a cup of coffee.
There's some like old music playing, right? He showers under a waterfall. It's
just going to work.
He's literally, yeah, exactly. It is so funny to me. But later he gets like whipped around by his arm, and wouldn't you know it? Oh, that arm's out of its socket.
Oh no!
What do you do in an action movie when your arm's out of the socket? You go find a wall or a skyscraper to pop it back into place. And I was like, he's just an action guy in the middle of this. So yeah, that is an
old
amusing
football
element.
injury. He had to reset.
That said, I liked. That seemed really loud. Hopefully the microphone didn't hear that. I liked the way they got from scene to scene. It made sense. The characters kind of suck, and even if the plot's kind of dumb, whatever. There are cool. King of the Monsters. It's just they're on their sci-fi ship, literally like flying from one side of the globe to the other in like an hour somehow. Like the time, it's real fuzzy, the timelines of everything, and it's kind of a mess. This one, the journey is kind of becomes part of the set piece. They have to Also, I was like, man, it kind of sucks to be Kong. In the last one, monsters can go anywhere they want on the globe. Kong, they have to like throw on a ship and chain up and just drive him there. They want him up on that mountain or whatever, or in Antarctica. They got to put him in a net and just fly him there. Like, there's a lot of hand holding you got to do with Kong if you want to get him around. Until the movie suddenly decides it doesn't want to do that anymore, and then you could just shoot a hole straight through the earth and jump right down the middle of it. That's fine. It's whatever.
Hollow Earth, Yeah, there
they're
we go.
all about. Speaking of honest trailers and like the little cuts, there's gonna be honest trailer. They're gonna do Hollow Earth. There's gonna be people say it so many times. If they don't mother box Hollow Earth, they're missing out.
Oh yeah.
They say it so many times. Also, I'm like, you got characters going on about fluoride in the water. The whole like plot revolves around this Hollow Earth theory. I'm like, who wrote this? Who wrote this? And are they listening to Q as well? I'm a little concerned.
Although the fluoride thing does have a little bit of merit.
Oh, here we go.
I mean, I'm not saying it's good for your teeth and all, but it's not great for your IQ. That's all I'm saying.
It's funny because, okay, so yeah, there's like a lot of like the conspiracy theories in here, but at this point, people's conspiracy theories have gotten so kind of crazy I'm like, this is at least the more based on more sensical conspiracy theories.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, anyway. Also, I was a little jazzed about like the last movie being like, oh, here's a little bit of the original Kong score, or I mean Godzilla score, just a little bit.
Oh yeah.
This one, Kong shows up, you get, this one, Godzilla shows up, you get Godzilla music the whole time. It's amazing.
Oh.
You get the score is great. He's taking out battleships. It is it's so good. It's so good. All right, I think it's fine. Go watch it.
It's okay.
HBO Max for like a month or whatever, however long it's there.
I would like to challenge the movie industry, and this kind of goes along with Paul's comment, to create some characters that actually follow the laws of like physics for how large they could become, and what they could do. That would be nice, because how big was that waterfall he was showering in if he's big enough to fight Godzilla? I'm just saying that, first of all. That's ridiculous. That waterfall would be like up in the stratosphere or something.
So Skull Island, and this minor spoilers plays into Hollow Earth a little bit. There's some very cool visuals in this movie, I'll say. There's super cool visuals.
Mm-hmm.
And the fight scenes, even the ones that happen at night, look nice. Mm-hmm. Even if they're doing like the fake dirty lens and stuff, it looks crisp. It's very, very, very good, easy to tell what's happening, unlike the last one. But Skull Island is very like prehistoric, so everything just looks huge. The waterfall is literally like a waterfall off of like there's a mountain range that's like a big arc kind of, and it's the water that falls down between. It's like that kind of thing where it's like, not to say that doesn't necessarily exist in the real world, but it definitely looks like fantasy dinosaur prehistoric land. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of how they get away with him being that big and being able to shower in a waterfall.
Yeah, that's definitely fantasy, because that high up, the water would be frozen and it wouldn't waterfall.
I was trying to set up...
Sorry.
No, I'm trying to set up a joke here, and it's not working because I can't find the picture. There it is. Hold on. Okay. They're fictional characters. Who dictates their size? I mean, literally the writers, I guess.
Yeah.
You're right.
Let's see. Okay, those are not. I'm just catching up on comments. Okay, so yeah, there was, whatever. Here's, we don't have time for news. It's getting late. Godzilla vs. Kong made a bunch of money. Pandemic record, like in.
Oh yeah,
that's a bad way to put it.
I was to say
a box office opening during
a whole
the
year.
during
Most
the
money
pandemic.
of the year, huh?
9.6 million.
Mm-hmm.
Also, this I'm pretty sure opened a few days ago, or like a week ago. So apparently, Warner Brothers is like. Also, I noticed. This is not one of the stories. Mortal Kombat got pushed back a week, so I'm like, so they're not really sticking to the day and date thing, are they?
Right.
Everything on streaming same day. It's like, okay, everything on streaming like a week later.
Yeah.
It's gonna be everything on streaming like 3 months later. It's like, oh, we're back to regular. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, 9.6 million. Big movie industry is thrilled by that.
That seems actually kind of low for a movie, but post pandemic, I guess maybe that's pretty good.
Sure.
And then just because I mentioned it earlier, DC is dropping. Apparently, it was going to do an Aquaman spin-off, The Trench, and some other things. And one of those other things, the thing that got me was, and this is for DC movies that were previously on their slate. The Trench is out of there, and also New Gods, which was going to be a movie. New Gods out of there, and that bums me out a little bit because it was being co-written by Tom King, who is actually a comic writer.
Oh, yeah.
He wrote some good Batman. He wrote Vision, that great Vision miniseries we always talk about. That's getting axed. So that kind of bummed me out. Plus, New Gods is potentially a cool, weird movie to do. But they kind of blamed it on the Snyder Cut, saying that they, since Snyder Cut included, Grandma.
The new gods.
Yeah, Grandma Goodness or whatever her name was, and
Yeah.
the new gods, that they're like, well, we kind of want to put some space between that and any dealing with them again.
Mm-hmm.
If is that true, or is that just like them throwing shade? Just like, oh yeah, you guys were all so happy about that. No new gods now. It's Zach's fault. Is he still so great?
Yeah, it's another Zach attack.
Right.
I suppose I don't need to. Never mind. I'll talk about it later.
Okay. Hey.
Mm-hmm.
Melanie.
Yes.
You ready? Are you ready?
Oh, sure.
Because I feel like you got some melsplaining to do to us. You gonna melsplain us?
Sure. I will melsplain. Let's see. What should I melsplain today? How about this one?
What's the Snyder Watch? Sorry.
Some researchers took skin cells from frog embryos and basically just let them grow. Separate from a frog, obviously.
Was Ken Watanabe there? Let them grow.
let them grow.
But what they ended up doing is, even without like the rest of the frog, they still organize themselves into what they're calling them xenobots, which doesn't make sense to me, but that's what they're calling them. They're not alien or robots, so none of that works in my opinion. But that they're scientists and nerds, so there you go. But they would cluster into cells, and then those cells would do things like spin around in circles and sweep up debris, or what's in one of the other, swim around, or use like the little hairs that would grow off to like push themselves around. They organized themselves into little clumps and like did things that a creature would do, an independent creature. And that's kind of fascinating because, for individual cells to do that without all of the DNA to make an entire person, to just make themselves into their own functioning creatures that don't necessarily have a purpose, but they give themselves something to do. That fascinates me. And the uses for that in the future are kind of limitless. So there you go.
It also feels like it's eking towards hive mind.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was part of it, because they're like, there is no brain in any of these cells. There's no reason for it to think or to have like the rationale to clump together to do these things, yet they still do it, which is a big question that they're looking into. But it's similar to like slime mold. Slime mold doesn't have a brain, yet it can complete complex mazes and find its way back to food sources after it's gone somewhere. And Josh, I forgot about that. These actually were able to make their way through mazes. So it brings up questions like that I'm interested in also. Like, if you don't have a brain, how do you reason? But things without brains have before, and these things also can. But it's the bigger, even though that's super interesting, the bigger take from it is that even without like the structure that we expect things to have, any kind of life will create its own structure and find a way to try to move through the world. And that is fascinating.
Are you saying life finds a way?
Yes, exactly. Life finds a way.
Life finds a way.
So there you go.
The sparkles.
Be amazed.
Yeah.
I wanted
You
to.
did it. I can't believe
By
you
my
did
man's melsplaining.
I love it. Thank you for melsplaining that to us.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good title because
Yeah.
sometimes we are too dumb to get what you're saying. So
That's okay.
I wanted to show you
You're
real quick.
cute, so.
I was talking about, not to get on this again, but I was talking about the fight scenes the scenes in Godzilla vs. Kong. Look at how good they look. It's amazing. Whoa, why is it wigging out? Okay, way to
Wait.
step on my joke technology. Look how good they look.
It's so good.
What is that nose, man? Okay.
Look at that. It's amazing. What is that
Was-
eye?
I want to know, like, can he absorb electricity like in the original? Because that's what ramps him up. That's what powers him up to fight Godzilla in that original one.
Kong?
He absorbs.
Oh my god.
I'm stronger. Pow pow
No.
pow pow.
No, but
Like
yes.
crazy jumping jacks kind of stuff.
Now that you mention that, they don't do that exactly, but they do a riff on that.
They do
in a way that makes sense, because that is silly. I mean, it's all silly, but that's silly. But they do that in a way, but they handle it differently in a way that it's like, okay. And I didn't realize they were doing a callback, but they totally do. You'll know it. You'll catch it when you see it then.
Okay. Cool.
That
I wish I would.
Makes me think of Attack of the 50-Foot Woman for some reason. Okay.
But I mean, is there a good picture of it? No. Oh no! Look at this. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Why would they make his chest area the less hairy part of him? I mean, that doesn't make any sense to me. Okay.
Okay. Listen.
Sorry. False comment.
CGI isn't always a bad thing, because the new movies, even I complained about the look of the last one. The CGI looks great. It's on point. Part of the appeal of the old monster movies, though, it's a rubber suit. It's a guy in a rubber suit knocking over a miniature city, and that's super fun.
Right.
But they're not going to do that. If you're not going to do that, okay, give me a CGI guy knocking over CGI city with all kinds of physics simulations and stuff. Make it look cool. Oh, Paul, from pounding his chest. Where'd that picture go? Yeah, that you need to lay off the pounding your chest if you end up looking like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, can you imagine like all the buzz and the movie look like this? Like now?
Oh God.
Amazing. I'm not trashing the guy in the suit though, because that's super fun. And that's been
it's super entertaining. I rewatched this particular one a couple of years back, and it's so silly and fun. Like it's easier to watch than some of the old ones.
Oh yeah. Listen, the old ones, the human parts are never good.
Yeah.
Right.
They're always slow.
It's
That's
like
the secret.
Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Like you know it's not gonna be good, but it's gonna be funny to laugh at.
It's gonna be entertaining.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I've been so critical of the last couple, because they're big budget blockbuster movies, and so maybe my expectations are higher, because when you watch some of the older ones, you're like, you know what? It's a dude in a suit knocking over miniatures. That's fun. Listen, you can only expect so much, right? But yeah, I don't know. I think maybe.
You know what it reminds me of, and what I miss a little bit? We should do this again sometime. Just make a big city of boxes, and then just have somebody get in a suit and run through and trash it. That would be great. You remember that from what was that?
We have
Ozfest, yeah.
Yeah, that was fun.
Pictures.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Specifically of you and Jesse.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Peeking out from behind cardboard boxes, box buildings.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well. Thank you. Oh, were you tired of looking at that, Paul? I haven't put up the comment that I'm sure he's been referencing, so it's inappropriate. It's inappropriate. All right. Well, Jesse, you got anything to promote coming up?
No, I would just say go on over to nerdsounds.com. We've got our Patreon. We've got all sorts of content over there. And and you've got a EMC link as well.
Yeah, we're also on the Electronic Media Collective Podcast Network, where you can find all kinds of great shows, including ours. Go to emcpod.net/nerdsounds, and you'll get there.
Mm-hmm.
You can also check out Paul's shows because he did not self-promote in the chat, so I'll promote him for it and commend him.
Mm-hmm.
Paul does 2 shows, Moose's Monster Mash and Just Bull Spit with Moose. And you can find those also, I don't know if they're both on the same page. I don't think they are. But if you go to emcpod.net/moose, you'll find one of them. And the other one will follow.
Let them fight.
I don't know what Paul's so confused about. He seems so confused. I'm concerned about Paul.
Yeah.
He seems confused. All right. Thanks, everybody, for listening. As Jesse said, nerdsounds.com. And we do this every week. Catch us live. Same this time, same this channels.
Ish.
Oh, yeah, same-ish this time? Ish.
So come back for more nerd sounds.
Oh, well, actually, life finds a way. I want to see every Jeff Goldblum role played as a stereotypical nerd. I mean, he's kind of a nerd in a lot of them, but
right.
Like, imagine The Fly if he played it like.
Wait, he
Like
does kind of, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Help me.
Paul says I was actively engaged in the conversation tonight. Good. We love it. We love that. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching and listening in the future, and we'll talk to you again sometime. Have a good weekend.
Yep.
Go watch Invincible and Resident Alien and Godzilla vs. Kong.
And we're